Let's talk about Gavin Newsom real quick.
Oh, yeah.
We have this from The Hill. Newsom joins Trump's Truth Social to call out Republican lies. This is actually quite amazing. He says, quote, I just joined Trump's Truth Social. Going to be on there calling out Republican lies. This could get interesting. My first post breaking down America's red state murder problem, he said, adding a link to his Truth Social post. Yeah, I know, like urban centers are all in, blue cities. But here's the funny thing. Twitter bans their way to irrelevance. And now a prominent Democrat's like, I better go over here to engage in this conversation.
This is his second self-own in as many months, I think. He tried to poke fun at DeSantis.
But why is it a self-own?
Because he's basically admitting that he doesn't support free speech on the one hand on the Twitter platform, but does support it and wants to flock to it on another platform.
Yeah.
This is the same guy who tweeted out a mocking photo of DeSantis. He was reading books that DeSantis was banning, not realizing that the same dude in California are banning books. He doesn't understand a cell phone when it happens, but thank goodness that he gives it to the public.
Could it be that the Democrats, the leftists of big tech who have banned these conservatives have created a boring platform, and now Democrats are going to want to go to Truth Social? What if it turns out that Twitter ends up dying, Elon buys it, and then everyone's like, well, but Twitter's so last election. Truth Social's funny because Trump's on there and we all want to know about it. These journalists are going to have to report on what Trump truths. Is that what it's called? He's truthing? He's truthing?
Boy.
So when Trump truths, that's an amazing thing to say, by the way. Journalists have to have accounts to see what he's saying, forcing them to sign up and be on the platform. Then what's the point of being on Twitter? It's not going to be newsworthy anymore. The people are going to be on Truth and Trump's going to control it. Now you're on his platform, baby. Is that where we're going?
It's going to be interesting to see if Trump censors Gavin.
He's not going to censor.
It would be stupid for him to do, but it wouldn't surprise me.
You know what might happen? Yeah. Gavin might get his butt handed to him on Truth, and he might actually say, holy crap, California is not doing well in a great many respects. He might actually see the truth on Truth. Wouldn't that be ironic?
This warrants like some kind of sketch where Gavin's like, I'm joining Truth. A week later, he's wearing a MAGA hat. He's I've seen the light. You hear the story about these content moderators and feds that when they go on Facebook and they join these groups, they end up getting radicalized. And they're, they call it radicalization in the media, but I'm like, perhaps the moderator is seeing like real news stories that normally get removed. And they're not getting the filtered narrative anymore. And so they're going like, whoa.
Well, that's the whole point of strategic empathy. It used to be you taught in the State Department, military, you have strategic empathy for your enemy or adversary. But the question is, why don't we teach it anymore in the U.S. State Department? Well, what happens if your strategic empathy leads you to be more empathetic to that perspective, and all of a sudden you can't hate, say, Russia or Putin or somebody else around the world? You can't despise them anymore because you've learned to understand them. And so we've taught teaching it so that people don't do it. And what big tech is trying to do is to not even let you have access to it, because once you do, people end up opening their mind to different perspectives, especially over the last, basically you look at every Alex Jones conspiracy theory from 5 years ago, and we've lived them over the last 5 years in some form. And so all of a sudden people perceive Alex Jones in a whole different light. They can't afford that to occur. That's why they need people to never listen or hear that information in the first place.
Yep.
This censorship is about controlling the audience, not just the listener. And I think that's what people forget about the First Amendment. The First Amendment's not only the right to speak, it's the right to listen. It's the right to hear.
Testify. That's actually quite beautiful, Robert.
It's actually crazy to think that Silicon Valley executives could determine what you could listen to, what you could be able to think about. And that level of power is godlike.
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever watched a video that you thought was like the best video ever and you want to show your friends? And then you're like, watch this video. You play it. And as you're sitting there, they're not reacting to it. And you're like, they don't like it. This is really awkward. And like, they're not laughing at it. Zuckerberg or any one of these tech people could it's not just about negative. It's not just about censorship. They could be like, this message should be put out. They could go in and force you to watch these things.
No, absolutely. The thing that kills me though, is I've been in this space for like 20 years and I remember these guys, they're all talking about the free and open internet. We love like free speech matters. And then all of a sudden in 5 years, what happened to these people? Like was this just bullshit for the last 20 years? Like how did they just flip like that?